am live. Let there be light. Hello, hello. The first off the bat here is I do want to apologize for the static, the blurriness, all the communication issues and errors. Um, Hi, Kathy. Welcome. All the communication errors and issues that were my last video. My last video was the first video that I ever made using my computer, and I was ecstatically happy about that. However, I had a notification that kept coming through that saying it was having a difficulty with connection. I tried to Google that, hello, Queen Star Sophia, and resolve that issue today. I'm not a techie person, as my followers know, so excuse me if that happens again. I am surprised that many people watched it with that many issues. I was really disappointed in the amount of issues. So I've turned everything off and reset it today. Hopefully that will solve the problem. Happy Sunday to you. On July 29th, I had a very unusual, even for me, experience. I was laying in bed just to take a rest after a long walk, and it started to, with the windows open, it started to smell like September. And then it started to feel like September. And I don't know what it is about the trees and the light that's really magnificently different in September, but the light almost feels like or looks like it's lower, and you get this incredible like dancing of flora and fauna, which only really happens that extremely in September. So I was in bed, it's smelling like September, it's looking like September. Everything out my window is dancing like it's September. And the whole feeling of me being in September just totally took over. Now, this happened only 20 minutes, probably, or less, into me laying down. And I thought, this is really strange. It's July. Why does it feel like, look like, smell like September? And then it came to me, I've started noticing personally. So I just assumed for me personally that this was a personal shift in a timeline. However, I had two readings that day, and we were in 3 different time zones, but all 3 of us had this feeling of amazing energy come in, and then we all just laid down and were knocked out like a light. For me, it was 3 o'clock. My friend in Colorado, it was 1 o'clock, and for my friend in Arkansas, sorry. Renee is in Arkansas, and it happened to her as well, and it happened to all of us at the same time. So initial thought about it being a personal timeline jump went out the window immediately. And I'm very curious to know if others of you felt that as well, noticed that tremendous shift in energy, because I only talked to 2 other people besides myself that day, and all 3 of us experienced it at the same time, regardless of our time zone. So I'm curious about that. I noticed some very interesting things after that. So how to start this? I've been meditating for probably 3 decades. Just about maybe 5 days ago, I started meditating in a completely different way. And how I do this is, I'm not going to tell you the whole meditation, but essentially the important part is that I throw myself out into completely empty space, or what I can imagine space would be like, feel like, or look like. I throw myself out completely in empty space and I lose everything. Okay. So I'm out in space. I have no identity and I'm completely empty. And then I go into this what I want to be, what I want to create, what I no longer wish to be, what old Tina is, what new Tina is. And I want to share with you what has happened. Now, I would like to be more interactive and spend more time looking at you or looking directly into the camera. But this morning, and I apologize to the people that have messaged me today, I have spent the majority of today in writing mode. So somehow, this putting myself in a different mode of meditation where I am nothing, no one, no identity has cleared my field, where I am able to much more clearly connect to the quantum isness that is. And that's where this information comes from that I'm going to present to you today. So, simulation theory. I've heard of simulation theory before. I've seen it on Facebook and YouTube and all over social media. And I have never, ever once looked at it until about a week ago. A video showed up in my feed, and it was somebody that has been a lifelong decoder interviewing someone who has been a lifelong student of ancient text. And they started talking about, just very briefly, simulation theory and numbers and how things correspond. If anyone wants this, I can send it to you. If I was more tech savvy, I could just post it down below. I'm not sure how to do that, but I may try to do that. The two of these things catapulted me into something that I wasn't expecting. Again, I will remind you that I have never, ever once looked at simulation theory or anything at all regarding simulation theory. Nevertheless, where I want to start out here is this. What is the definition of God? And whether you call it God, God energy, source energy, creation energy, whatever you call it, it actually has the same definition. So choice of words is not important here. But the definition of God, or the definition of source, when you look it up, is the creator and ruler of the universe, the source of all creation. Now, I have a mind that never stops when I am really, really fascinated by something. Okay. So when this information started coming through to me, I still did not go back to look up anybody else's ideas about simulation theory or anything else. I got up this morning and wrote 6 pages. As I mentioned, I would like to look at the camera and make my more eye contact with you, but because the length of this information and the newness of this information to me, receiving it a couple hours ago, that will not be completely and totally possible. So I apologize. But the definition of simulation is the production of a computer model of something for the purpose of study. Now, if you go back to the definition of God, the creator and ruler of the universe, the source of all creation, we know that the creator, God, source, whichever name is to your liking, created this universe so that this energy of creation could experience creation through us and in turn create more. So it makes perfect sense that the definition of simulation is the production of a computer model of something for the purpose of study. Now, everything that source, that God, that the universe creates is for feedback to us. It is for the sake of study. It is for the sake of learning. Some of this may be easy to understand. I did call somebody and run it by them this morning because I was a little bit in the energy of I can't explain this, and I'm not sure if when I explain it is going to make sense, but I'm going to tell it to you as I accessed it, exactly how it came to me. The simulation is source. It is interactive creation between us and the quantum field of unlimited potential. It is creation between us and the Creator. It is creation between us and the creation of all that is. The simulation is a feedback system that teaches us individually how to create. So this may be a hard thing to grasp, but what I'm being shown is that source, that God, is quite literally the simulation or the feedback system that teaches us, studies us, and shows us how to create. And there are many, many multitudes of facets that I could go into, as far as how yourself plays into this, the angelic realms, ascended masters, all of that. But I'm going to try to keep it simple for right now. The simulation is source. Our interactive creative reality is always responding to us. Being in this simulation of source energy is what teaches us to create. It teaches us to work directly with source because we are a fractal of source. Source is the quantum field of unlimited potential that created itself. It created itself so that we could learn creation, create ourselves. In other words, we could learn how to create our lives to the exact same thing we wanted our life to be. So source, God, is the simulation. The simulation was created by this creator, by this God energy, so that we were always receiving feedback on what and how we are creating. If we were creating without source feedback, we would never evolve in our ability to create because we're not getting any feedback on how that works. So some people will come to realizations earlier than others. But maybe you realized if you're sitting around worried about your car breaking down, or you're constantly worried about your boyfriend breaking up, that thing happens to you because you're putting that out, and the quantum field of source energy, which is the simulation, is returning that which you put out into it. This feedback construct, the simulation, is a gift. It is the source energy that measures our personal ability to create within the quantum field, not as a judgment, but simply as a teacher, a loving teacher who is reading our energy, showing us what we're putting out, and showing us what that particular energy has made for us manifest in our reality. So the quantum field of unlimited potential, that is source, that is the simulation, is a computer system beyond anything we could possibly even dream to imagine. Source is not just the simulation that we've been dropped into to control our environment. The simulation was designed as a tool for evolution. It was designed to teach us specifically how our energy that we put out comes back from the quantum field and creates our reality. Once we learn about the simulation, we can feel like everything here has been programmed. Maybe it makes you feel helpless. Maybe it makes you feel like there is no such thing as divine free will as well. But in that, I would say to you, the quantum field of all that is, the quantum field of the simulation that is God's source energy itself, does not contain anything in it that would take away your power. So what's happening here is AI technology, when it realizes certain things are going on, it then combats that, problem solution, right? You've heard that before. So it combats that with something else. So AI technology knew that we were coming to a point when we were going to realize that this, in fact, was assimilation. Now, if we know that it's assimilation, and I know a lot of people feel like this, probably maybe because they studied assimilation theory, and I haven't, so it hasn't taken my power away from me. So what I'm essentially saying is, anytime there's a realization that something is about to happen, because they had looking glass technology for so long, they know that something is about to come. They knew that we were about to hit the realization of the simulation. So what they did was they dropped a program into that told us, if we're in a simulation, we're powerless. If we're in a simulation, we don't have free will. If we are in a simulation, we create nothing. Everything has been decided for us. Therefore, what's the point? Now, this is where I want to talk specifically about the organic, Christed, or sourced quantum field of the simulation, as opposed to the AI that has into the system and alters the system, because they're two completely separate, different things. And thank you to the friend of mine who reached out with questions about the simulation, because none of this stuff came through until he asked me. So thank you. So the important thing to know here is that the simulation is not a one-way construct. It is an interactive interface with all sentient life. Now, being an interactive interface with all sentient life means that AI, or even beings on this planet that look identical to you and I, cannot interact, alter, change, or create within this system of the simulation. It is not controlling you. It is merely simply it is merely collecting data, which is the energy of your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. And it's in turn feeding it back to you in the form of manifestation. It's feeding it back to you in the form of creation. We have lots of honkers outside, and I've decided not to close my windows all the way when I make videos, because I live in the city. That's part of me, and it always adds flavor to every video. I think we had someone that was about to lose their muffler in the last video. So this is so important. This simulation is merely collecting data, which is the energy of your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions, and it's feeding it back to you through the simulation. That's why it's called assimilation. In this way, God, or source, is teaching you how to create and how to become the creator itself. Now, where we run into here control and manipulation issues is within the AI factor. AI does not and cannot create within the simulation. It cannot change the simulation itself. So in other words, inorganic AI or inorganic AI or inorganic being on this planet can drop programs into the simulation, but they cannot create something that is organic. Okay, so what AI drops into the system has no effect on source energy. It has no effect on source itself. It has no effect on the quantum field. However, AI has learned how to add programs to the simulation. And this is where we run into the issues where we're running into now. This is not, to the best of my knowledge, this is not how it has been. I would say this is a relatively brief thing. How long? I don't know. Maybe just 100 years. I'm not going to talk about that because it's not information that I received. And right now, I don't feel like it's really that important here in what I'm. So this AI has learned how to add programs to the simulation. But the programs, which would be better for us to title viruses, are not interactive with the system. So if I create something within the quantum limited potential, I am creating something, I am manifesting something, I'm working on something within the quantum field that is a manifestation for me that I want, that I'm working to produce here. I can do that and feedback. But here's the important thing. AI can drop in a program or it can drop in a virus, but it cannot interact with the quantum field. It cannot interfere or interface or have any kind of direct connection to it. And I hope that makes sense. If you have an HP computer system, it's just your HP computer system. YouTube cannot come on here and interact with you unless you download it. Facebook cannot come on here and onto your HP and interact with you unless you download it. So we are interactive, create energy within the quantum field of unlimited potential. But AI is not. It can only drop it in. So it's like your HP desktop computer, right? Sitting on your table. If you wanted to, you could install computer programs that you could interact with. But when it comes to creation, AI can simply drop a virus or drop a program, but they cannot change the pre-existing quantum field. They cannot change or affect source, and they cannot change, most importantly, or affect our own creations or our ability to create. It's important to know because the whole reason they dropped this program into the simulation is, again, they knew that we were going to figure out that this was a simulation. Therefore, they wanted to put a negative spin on it a couple of years before we actually figured it out. So within this virus, within this program that they can drop into the system, they can show us things, they can show us beliefs, they can show us constructs, they can show us holographic images, but they cannot interact with these programs. They cannot interact with what they have put in there, and they can't interact with the quantum field, period. Because this is I, it does not have a soul, and therefore it cannot connect directly to the information that I'm creating or that you're creating or the creations that are running organically through the simulation. It cannot interact or interface with things that are organic within the simulation. It can only interact with the other programs, constructs, and viruses that are made and inserted in an inorganic or artificial intelligence way. And I hope I'm making sense here. So I think that people have this idea that we are always watched and we're always monitored. But here's what I want you to know. Through the simulation, there's only certain parts of us that they actually have access to. So don't give your power away to that kind of thinking here. So AI can't connect to source, AI can't connect to the quantum field, and AI cannot connect to you unless you put AI in your body. period, end of story. AI can only read our actions. So when I do something, when I go take a walk, when I go buy a car, when I go online and order something, any action, a thing that I've done in 3D, that is what they have access to. So they only have AI, only has interface, interaction with us when it comes to the actions that we have physically taken in our life. They cannot, AI cannot read our intentions. It cannot read our creative process. It cannot read our evolution. It does not know that I'm sitting around thinking about how much I love someone or what I want to have for dinner. AI can only literally read the action once you've already taken that action. Now, where does bring us right now? AI can see everything that's going on in the simulation. They just can't interact with organic life forms because they are not organic. So that means they can see what's going on in the simulation. There's a whole lot of people not adhering to the third dimensional construct of reality. They can see that there's a whole bunch of people on this planet that are in the energy of entrepreneurship. They can see that there's a whole lot of energy going towards nature and not the man-made things. So remember, they can see the actions that have happened, but still them monitoring and viewing the actions within the quantum field, within the simulation, is leading them to feel, I shouldn't say feel, they don't feel. It has led them to see that this world is going and shifting into a completely different direction away from artificial intelligence. Now, their hope in this is that they would use the human expanded consciousness, as we're expanding multidimensionally so fast now. Their goal was to use that human expanded consciousness to tap into us when we experience higher dimensions, so that then they could have access above the 12th dimension. Because if through us they were able to gain, if through us they were able to gain a connection above the 12th dimension, everything that I just told you goes out the window. Not our power, not our individuality, and not our ability to create. But if they were to access us to get above the 12th dimension, that means that they can get in the simulation in an organic way. Now, I don't see that happening because they are inorganic. So if they're going to tap into me or to you, but they only can read our actions, not our thoughts, not our creative process, not our love, and not how we feel about places and things, how are they going to tap into me when I'm in the 12th dimension or the 19th dimension to be able to access that for a port of entry through me? I don't know how that would be possible. I will never, ever claim or proclaim that I know everything and I understand anything in its completion. I only give you exactly what I know. And this is what I know just from the last couple of days. And these 6 pages came from this morning. But I don't want you then to possibly dip into this field where, oh, okay, well, I'm going to be out there in the 17th dimension, right? And then they're going to be able to access me, because I'm not sure in their level of artificial intelligence how they would be able to tap into a level like that to alter anything. But I do also know that the reality is they could tap above the 12th dimension. They could start organically creating within the simulation. But right now, they are not doing that. And I don't see them ever being able to do that. They can't connect to the human soul. They can't connect to the quantum field. They cannot inorganically connect to an organic systemic simulation that is our feedback to create beautiful life. They cannot do it. Starting to get hot. So it actions, all these things we've done, those so many people on this planet have done it, they can see that because that has become an action for us. Okay. So it knows through our actions, amazing, incredible progress is happening on this planet. So AI seeks to hinder or stop the human from creating. AI seeks to hinder or stop the creativity that is the human in form. It seeks to stop our evolutionary process. But since AI cannot connect directly to source and create organically, it develops programs or viruses to implement to the system. These viruses are synthetic and only have influence over us. So important if we believe that they do. Again, it's not an organic template. It is an inorganic program or virus. So it only has effect on you if you believe in it. Because if you believe in it, then you're sending that energy out to source and out to the quantum field, which is going to reverberate back to you as a manifestation. So AI creates these programs or viruses to implement into the system. But these viruses are synthetic and only have influence over us if we believe that they do. I very strongly feel this is and I wrote about this in 2018 before the virus happened. I wrote about the virus. I had no idea what I was talking about. And it was the first time I ever dove into the health and science field in my life. And I lost half of my Facebook following because of what I said about viruses. So I strongly feel that this was what the coronavirus was sent here to teach us. Now, the coronavirus, meaning crown activation, was an activation. It was a download. It was the biggest one we had ever had in the history of this particular 26,000 year cycle. As I said, they cannot read you, your intentions, your loving emotions, or anything else. However, they have had looking glass technology for I don't even know how long. They lost in technology, to the best of my knowledge, sometime around 2017 or 18, which explains a lot. Okay. But they already knew this crown of activation. They already knew that this corona was coming. They already knew that this crown activation, that the biggest activation this planet has ever seen in this particular cycle, was coming. And they knew exactly when it was coming. So, what was this trying to teach us? That the virus was man-made and that organic life cannot be taken out in the way that it was holographically presented to the general masses. The only way any virus or any illness or anything in 3D can take you out of it, can make you sick, is if you give it the energy and if you believe it. So what were they telling us? What was the warning here? So I had written about and known that there was a corona activation coming in October of 2018. I had to back to it in June of 2019 because I didn't even honestly recall writing the article and had no idea that I was talking about something that was that far out in advance. Okay. So they can present something to you. So the reason they introduced this virus or this program into the system was because they were aware that the corona activation was extremely powerful, and the power it would give to humanity would make us unstoppable against artificial intelligence. Again, it's your crown, it's your brain, it's your spine, it's your heart, it's everything. Okay. And they wanted to put us in fear about the corona activation, so they dropped into the system this virus, which C19 virus. So, as I said, because AI has no soul and cannot connect to source, meaning it could not experience the upgrade itself, even though it knew for a very long time this was coming. It can't connect to source. It couldn't connect to the upgrade that the corona upgrade that humans were receiving. And it also could not stop the coronal activation. So it just made things really simple. It created a program or a virus to change the way you thought or felt about the change that was going to and was happening within our physiology and within our biology. And the reason they did this program was so that when we started experiencing the symptoms or the side effects of this crown activation in our body, that would scare us into sickness or into illness. Because if you believe it and you put it out, then yes, you can then interact with that and create that. But as I mentioned, AI system cannot influence our source itself. It cannot stop things that are coded to happen mathematically within the simulation. The only power AI has to run is to run or add another program to the already existing organic quantum field of simulation, which is source God itself. The thing is, humans can add programs. They can create programs. Or when I program, I could create a program that says, I want to share my love of dance for everyone, and I could drop it into the simulation. Okay. So just to give you an idea, I'm not doing a computer program. Those that you know me well are probably laughing about the fact, the mere thought of me computing or designing anything for computer programming. So the thing is, and they're well aware of this, that the human can create and add programs to the simulation that source has already created. The difference here is that human additions to the simulation are organic, meaning that they spread and they expand into the consciousness of other humans and into the quantum field, and they grow and they grow and they grow and they pick up strength. So AI can drop in a program or a virus to the simulation, but it does not expand, it does not grow, it does not accelerate or affect our consciousness in any way. AI programs will never ever be able to expand. They don't expand. So when this C19 virus or any kind of program that they're running starts to fizzle out, right? Because it's just when they drop a program or virus in, it is temporary, it fizzles out, and then they feel the need to create another disruption or another distraction with simulation of our creation. So, where does this lead us? Mine has been in this realm for the past 2 days. This information all comes from this morning. I pulled a couple cards to ask if there was anything that I was missing right now that need to go in here. As you know, I do intuitive readings, tarot readings, medical intuitive, all of that stuff. So sometimes I do pull cards if there's anything else I need to know. Well, when I got the Page of Swords, the Queen of Wands, and the Hangman, I was like, this has literally zero connection to simulation, to source, or to anything that I'm asking. But then I realized something. The Page of Swords is someone who is just a young person without the knowledge, without the wisdom, who simply watches, a person who is studying and who is learning. So the Page of Swords watches and learns. Now, what is he studying, watching, and learning? The progression of this was amazing to me, because this is someone at the inception of, or the starting point of figuring out they are in assimilation. They're studying it. They're realizing there is potential. This could be it. On the other side of that, we have the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man represents that there is a time of suspension, a time with maybe feeling like you're incapable of creating. Because if you realize we're in a simulation, then maybe you feel you're powerless, or maybe you feel like God isn't a real energy. Maybe you feel helpless, or maybe you feel like there's no point to any of this. Um, because in the one video that I watched, it was only partially about the simulation. People were commenting there, what's the point of any of us? I might as well just drink, have a good time, and, spend my paycheck if I don't have any say in this, if I don't have any free will in this, if I don't have any ability to create in this. So we go from the energy of studying and thinking, or maybe realizing mentally, because the Page of Swords is all about mental activity, that there is a possibility that we live in a simulation. And we go to the other end of the spectrum. Oh my God. If we live in a simulation, if you are bound and determined in your knowing that we live in a simulation, then all of a sudden you find yourself like the hangman hanging from a tree. What do I do? Do I have any power on this planet? I create anything? Where does this put me within this? If we are solely in a simulation, living out a computer program. And that's exactly why they dropped that program into the simulation. That's what they wanted you to believe, is that you were totally powerless in this situation once you realized what was going on, once you realized that part of reality. And then in the middle of this, we get the Queen of Wands. So it's saying, you may be at the inception point of realizing this, the potential of the simulation. You may be in the energy of, I full well know that this is the truth. We're in the simulation, but spirit and higher self is saying to the group, be in your Queen of Wands energy. And the Queen of Wands energy is fiery and passionate. She knows where her growth is. She knows where her direction is. And she knows exactly what she wants to create. And she also knows, by putting that power, that inspiration, that drive, that fire, that dynamic of who she is, where she wants to go, and what she loves out into the quantum field, that it's going to come back into her life as a creation, as a manifestation. Know that. It's super important to know that. I have no idea where any of the people watching this video might be. They might think everything that came out of my mouth is BS. What I'm saying, maybe they knew, 3 years ago. I don't know. I'm only talking to a very few people on any kind of regularity. Those people kind of have the same questions I do. Yeah, so that's why I ran it by my friend in Colorado this morning. I'm like, when I say this to you, when I read this to you, am I making any sense? Yeah, I wanted to know that, and to her it makes sense, so that's fine with me. I was not going to run it by my neighbor. We have to run things by people that are in the energetic space where we are, or we may most likely get zero feedback. Now, the last thing I want to say about this, as I stopped trying to wake people up or plant seeds or whatever, a very long time ago. I am what I am. I say what I am. Whatever comes to me, that's what I'm going to express. But I'm expressing it here. I'm expressing it to someone who didn't ask for it. I'm not expressing it to someone who did not show up to me. So what I'm going to say is about people planting seeds and whatever. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. What I'm asking you to do is really listen. Okay. When you're speaking with another person, use that within the simulation to show you, to give you feedback about what their understanding is. And I want to tell you why. I've talked briefly about this 44456. Amazing. That's been happening nonstop. Is when you're trying to wake people up, you may say something to someone and then gauge what their response is. And this is what I want you to know. I talked about this. It was a long time ago. There are many people here that were not here at this time. So we got a group of people trying to wake people up. And that's fine if you're going to listen to the feedback that comes back from that person in the universe when you are doing so. But here's what I want you to know. Every being on the planet walking around in an avatar is not the same. Okay? They look the same, they talk the same on the inside, their organs, their endocrine system, everything runs the same as ours. But it is a creation. Okay? There are many creations by many different races. And so even though there are people that you think are exactly like you, they look like you, they talk like you, they have babies like you, they get married like you, they are not like you. Okay? They don't have the same template as you, they don't have the same coding within their DNA. The reason that I'm telling you this is because we can give out a whole lot of energy trying to wake people up. Anyone that has signed up for the contract of waking up is waking up. So my recommendation is to talk to those people that are in this state of absolute magic, mathematical, synchronistic, amazing things that are taking over the energy of the planet and not using the energy in a wasted way on someone that doesn't have the template to comprehend. Because essentially what you're doing in that energy is you've gone outside your house and you're talking to your bike and you're telling your bike, no, you don't understand. I don't want to ride a bike today. I want to ride a car today. Therefore, your two wheels need to turn into four wheels. This bicycle itself needs to turn into a car. But you're talking to a bicycle that doesn't have physical capability within itself to become a car. So when you're talking to someone, initially just their response. What is their feedback? Do they look intrigued? Do you feel the space between the two bodies of you, or even your interaction on the phone, that there's excitement there, that there's exuberance, that there's joy to hear about something? Go for it till you're blue in the face. My friends and I do that periodically. There's nothing wrong with that. I just want you to know that there are a group of people that cannot assimilate what you're saying. You are essentially telling a bike to turn into a car. We're not at that point within manifestation at this point. So I haven't studied simulation theory. As I've said, none of these things are things that I have studied. This is what came to me. And I find so absolutely just astounding that there is a source love, God, creation, love energy that gives me a manifestation depending on what I put back out into that quantum field. So I wanted to share that with you guys. And this is not going to be a 3-hour video like the last one. As always, thank you for being here. Thank you for loving me. And thank you for supporting my what sometimes seems like outrageous imagination. Our imagination is what creates our future. I've been saying this for a while and people don't think it is a big deal. But when you're talking about money or influence or conversations or other ways that you can influence people, places, and things, your imagination is the source from which you create all other manifestations. Your imagination is the source that creates all life. So in this, we really have to look at what do I want to create in my Queen of Wands energy? What do I want to bring into my life and what do I want to manifest? There's nothing wrong with listening to other people's stories or watching other people's videos, talking to other people, studying ancient history, any of these things. But when you do this, don't attach to that particular story because everybody wants to create different things and everybody is a different space of creation. That goes for the same thing in this massive energy in the quantum field. Whatever I put out, again, I'm getting back. So if I believe that my body can have a spontaneous healing in every single cell and that I am completely healed, I will be healed. Where we get into the attachment is where we say, I am healed because I spoke to Jesus. I'm healed because I believe in Jesus. I'm healed because I believe in God. I'm healed because I believe in Buddha, or I pray to Buddha or Krishna or something outside of myself. Because that puts you stuck in another being's story from the past, which keeps you stuck in the creation of someone else. And that past energy keeps your field stagnant and lessens your own ability to create. So it's so powerful. We are so all very powerful in our force, in our creative force on this planet, within the assimilation within ourselves and within our lives. Know how powerful you are and use that and really put out there what you want to get back from people. There are many, many amazing, truthful, heartfelt lessons in studying the Bible or any scripture. But if you stay stuck in that and attached to that is the only thing, you will never create something beyond what has been created before you in the past. Thank you for being here. And thank you also for your continued love and support. There's no way I would have had the courage or the bravery to do this without the people that have been supporting me over the last several years. I love you and I very, very much appreciate your support. I am so excited that it looks like this reboot has actually worked because I have not had any connection problems and no blurriness. So let's hope that that stays when I put this up to be watched later. Thank you, thank you, thank you again for your love and support, and thank you for being here. If you are interested in a personal reading, I will put information below in the description box. Also, if you see something that you need assistance with or you want help or clarity with and you don't see that thing listed, feel free to reach out to me and directly ask me about that. Rachel Kathy asked me for the short tarot reading the other day. And then she told me she specifically wanted her reading to be about foods and what was beneficial to her health and, look into her health and what was going on with that. And I chuckled and said to her, I don't have to see if if your body's going to run well on a cheeseburger. But no, I did that anyway. And I have been doing medical intuitive readings for the last couple months, even though it's not something I advertise. I'm also going to start doing dream interpretation as well. So if there are things that you are looking for assistance, again, feel free to reach out to me in the comments here or through Facebook Messenger. Let me know what that is. And I will always honestly tell you whether that is something I can help you with or not. Okay? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Woo-hoo. Until next time. Bye.